Good morning, everyone. We are going to give everyone another minute or so before we start this morning, just to allow everyone to join. So if you could bear with us, we're about to join our session, but we'll give it just a little bit longer. Thank you. Great, thank you all. So I think we'll kick off our session now, and hopefully that allows most people time to join. So good morning and welcome everyone to this Morgan Hunt webinar session on the Black Leadership Job Board and the next chapter. Following the remarkable success of our initial launch in March 2023 of the Black Leadership Job Board, we're really delighted to reconnect and with our valued community of job board users, but also potentially with some new organisations, and to introduce you all to the new features and functionality coming your way in January 2024. As part of our ongoing collaboration with our partners at the Black Leadership Group, we're making significant investment into the job board platform, and we're really looking forward to sharing these improvements and changes with you all today. My name is Clare Keniry, and I'm a board director at Morgan Hunt, and I also focus on diversity and inclusion both internally and externally. As a leading UK recruitment business, Morgan Hunt are acutely aware that the recruitment process plays such a critical role in terms of bringing diverse talent into an organisation. And we work with businesses and organisations across the UK to ensure that every step is as consciously inclusive as possible. We're very proud of our ongoing collaboration with the Black Leadership Group to create and develop this Black Leadership Job Board, which was launched free to use initially in March 2023. And I'm also delighted this morning to be joined by Landman OBE. Robin is a co-founder and member of the executive team of the Black Leadership Group. And like all the team members, he works on a voluntary capacity. In addition, he's vice chair of governors at Lewisham College and a member of the CMI Race Advisory Committee. Prior to that, he was co-founder and former CEO of the Network for Black Professionals. Robin was a school teacher for 10 years before his then 30-year career in further education management, working in 4 colleges, the FEFC and the British Council in South Africa. So just a quick note on our format today before we go into it. This session will last a little less than probably an hour. If you do have questions, please do post those in the Q&A function on YouTube. And at any point, we will see them, and we'll endeavour to answer as many as possible, time allowing. I'll aim to leave some time at the end of our initial discussion to answer your questions. But to kick off our session today, we're going to run through a very quick presentation, which will provide an overview of the BLG itself and our collaboration to create and launch the Black Leadership Job Board to date. So I'm just waiting for Catherine, I believe, is going to share that with us any moment now. Thank you, Catherine. So the presentation really will walk through the investment and the upgrade and the benefits of the new improved platform and the details for our relaunch in January 2024. So I'm going to pass over to you, Robin, now, if you could turn on your video so everyone can see you. Just really, hello, to provide those that, you know, I know we have some users of the job board already with us, but there may well be some people on this session who've never heard of the Black Leadership Group before. So for anyone not familiar with the Black Leadership Group, who are you? And I suppose what's the mission of the organisation?
Thank you, Claire, and thank you very much to Morgan Hunt for this really fabulous partnership. Now, you can see here from the slide, colleagues, it's great to be with you, but you can see here what we're about. The Black Leadership Group was formed in 2020 and really announced its presence through an open letter, which it published in August 2020. That led to a fairly rapid increase in our exposure nationally. You can see there in simple terms that we are an anti-racist organization. We exist to challenge systemic racism, and our mission is to eradicate racism in the UK and place an anti-racist culture at the heart of all aspects of UK life, education and work. You can also see that we use Black as an inclusive term for those people who have lived experience of the effects of racism. This is a really important agenda for us, and we think for the United Kingdom, because it's about building a socially cohesive and economically successful society. And in order to do that, we need to draw people from the whole talent pool into that shared endeavor. So you can also see that we have an affiliated community of practice. When we launched our diagnostic toolkit in 2021, it was an invitation to progressive organizations. Excuse me. It was an invitation to progressive organizations that wanted to develop an anti-racist culture to work with us and to work together also to inculcate an anti-racist culture in their organizations and through them, the wider community. We're proud to say that Morgan Hunt was an early adopter, and we've been working really successfully with them. And they've been at the forefront of much of the work that we've done in terms of the recruitment sector. So we now have, from a standing start of 0 in 2021, we have over 75 affiliated organizations across the whole of the UK, all 4 nations, across a whole range of sectors, and including national organizations like CDN in Scotland, like ETF in England, JISC, the Education and Training Foundation. And we're really proud to be working in partnership with Welsh Government to progress its anti-racist Wales 2030 ambition. And in recent months, we've been working with the GLA, Greater London Authority, the Mayor's Office, through their workforce integration network to develop a more integrated, ethnically integrated network of employees in 3 sectors. That's health, creative, and green. So that's been going really well, and you can find out more about us on our website.
Thank you, Robin. So I suppose before this session, we had a brief chat, and I was talking to you about the case for initiatives like the Black Leadership Job Board and why that's still important. And I think you mentioned, amplified by the recent 2021 census results. So would you like to just talk us through that, why you feel creating things like the Black Leadership Job Board and initiatives like this will support addressing the imbalances we have currently in the UK?
Yeah, we have a real issue because the 21 census revealed that around about 20% of the population now is Black and ethnic minority, Black as we term it. And yet, if you look at all sectors, the workforce is not representative of that figure, and neither are leadership posts or middle management posts and so on. So what we have is a clear mismatch between the fixed ethnic profile of the UK and what's going on in the workforce. And that cannot be a good thing for either social cohesion or for economic prosperity. Because if you're excluding a significant proportion of the population, you are building a negative legacy of a lack of social cohesion, and you're also ignoring talent, which could make the country a bit more progressive and economically successful. So what we have is a clear crisis in our workforce. We began life as a further education colleges organisation, and the recent release of the workforce data from that sector by the DFE shows that very, very low percentage of employees in the FE workforce comes from Black and minority ethnic communities. For example, in London, there are only 2 Black principals out of 31 colleges. Now, London is the most ethnically diverse metropolitan area of the country. It's got almost a 50-50 split in terms of BME representation in the population. And of course, amongst the younger age groups, it's a much more pronounced representation. And yet they don't see themselves represented in the leadership of their colleges sector. So all throughout the workforce, all throughout the sectors in our country, we have an underrepresentation, and that's part of the business case for the Black Leadership Job Board. But it's also, a driving force for us to ensure that we engage with as many progressive organisations that want to be part of an anti-racist culture to work with us. And this gives an organisation a chance to engage with a more integrated network of employees, but also to work with others to promote good practice.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. And when we talked back in March, I remember we looked at some of the stats across the private sector and the public sector. I think it was something like 1.5% of top management roles in the UK private sector and 1% in the public sector are held by Black employees. So as you say, that kind of representation just isn't there. But moving on, I suppose the good news is that to date, since our launch, we have had quite a strong level of engagement with the job board. So I just wanted to take a little moment to talk through that and give everyone a sense of what's happened since we launched. So we launched back in March, end of March, and initially it was free to use. It is a test job board in the sense that we wanted to sense check the level of engagement, the level of interest initially before we invested further in the technology. So basic job board platform, and like I say, launched really to test that interest and engagement. And delighted to say that in the months that we've been launched, we've had over 150 unique organizations engage and advertise on the platform, over 1,000 jobs posted, again over 1,120 applications and 133,000 job views. So that's excellent in terms of a pretty from nothing to those kind of levels. We also ran a survey, so many of you on this session who already advertised will have received an invite to input into that survey. On top of that, I'm always looking for more input and feedback, so please feel free to share that at any point. But the survey results showed that about 70% of organisations said they would continue to use the job board when a charge was in place. So that was heartening as well. That was part of our decision-making process. Right, are we going to invest? And if we invest, therefore, we will need to move from that free basis to a charged basis. But being clear and open, a lot of the feedback focused on the limits of the functionality, which we knew because we were creating a fairly basic job board initially, but that functionality, we're aware, has been a drawback, and that is one of the things we want to address with the launch, with the change. So I just, again, talking through some of those basic challenges. I think the next slide will show that, but we're aware that, the job board itself at the moment, like I say, in its basic format, it sits within the Morgan Hunt environment. We want to change that. We want to create it as an independent job board. But there's a lot of admin input. We're aware of that. There's a manual job posting process, which, we're going to address. And there are various things like user error. One of the things that really is driving this investment is we want to be able to give the organizations that engage and advertise an option to be able to look at their data, to be able to see the level of, job views, but also candidates that are coming through from the job board, and be able to kind of look at their, like you would with any other job board, your return on investment. And also give a bigger platform. I'll talk a little bit about that, but there'll be an opportunity to highlight your organization as an employer of choice, perhaps add in video content if you wish, and to really profile why anyone would want to join you. But maybe if you're obviously you're particularly trying to focus on that Black talent, you're talking around, how a progressive organization you are and what you're doing to promote Black talent within your organization. And also we want to be able to add in a candidate database, a searchable candidate database. So the Black Leadership group has a membership part of it. So it has Black members who are interested in progressing their careers, but we want to complement that with a candidate database on the job board, which means job searchers, job seekers can add their details on there, and they can be proactively found by organizations who are looking for people. So those are some of the issues that we had, but as we've moved on, you can see with the new job board, it will be a dedicated platform. And I'll just talk through, so if we can kind of keep this slide up, Catherine, just a little bit longer while I talk through each piece. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. So it will integrate with applicant tracking systems, and it will be an automated process. So much less admin, much less user error, and very self-service focused. But equally, as I was mentioning previously, employers will be able to access high quality data on their applications. They'll be able to look at the journey. They'll be able to see the candidates that have come through, how many of those have gone to interview, because that will go into their ATS, and how many have got to shortlist, and so on. So you'll be really able to look at that kind of data. We're looking, it won't be in phase 1 in January, but as quickly as we can possibly do it, we want to add in the searchable candidate database, and that will be an optional thing for any job seeker to add their details onto the database, and like they would with any other job board out there, and be found proactively by recruiters within organizations, or indeed recruiters on the market who are looking for Black talent. So that will come as quickly as we can possibly do it. And like I've mentioned, benefits to advertisers, social sharing. We'll do a membership newsletter, potential to do sponsorship blog post, or indeed video, and to really position yourself as an employer of choice, which I think is pretty important. It'll be a fairly simplified automatic payment gateway, so that'll all be done on the job board, and you'll be able to see the job credits, etc., that are there against your account. And like I say, it's an independent and a much higher technical spec in terms of the platform. So it'll be open to all advertisers. Previously, we haven't been able to open it up to recruiters, but come January, that will change, and any employers, any recruitment or entity out there can engage with the job board platform, like I say, because it'll be an independent, dedicated platform. And then backing all of that up, we're going to have an ongoing focused marketing campaign and search engine optimization promotion of it as a job board in its own sense. So we'll do a lot of campaigns and marketing around it with the Black Leadership Group, but also, you know, from our side, just to support it and get that kind of critical profile and get it recognized by the search engines. So that's what's coming in terms of the new dedicated platform. In terms of, sorry, Catherine, if you could just go to the next slide and I just wanted to talk a little bit actually, and we touched on this, but the fact that, you know, we feel that it is very much an authentic source of Black talent. So I think if you go out there, you'll see lots of different types of job boards. But the thing that sets this apart, I think, is that what Robin covered initially is everything that the BLG stands for is behind this job board. And it's just one part of our focus to address issues within the employment market. So, Robin, I was going to bring you in again, if I can now, to talk a little bit from your perspective on that. And I think also if you could mention that new initiative within ethnic equity and education that you briefly touched on. If you want to unmute, Robin, sorry, you're muted, the deadly mute button.
Thanks, Claire. The thing that we want to do is to make sure that we are able to bring together, as I said earlier, progressive employers and Black people who want to progress their careers in an environment that is conducive to their success. So those are two important drivers for us. So what we do know is that it's difficult for a Black professional to advance their careers, not impossible, but difficult to advance your career in an organization that's not got the necessary support systems in place to help you succeed if you're a lone individual in a basically all-white organization. So we provide a structure of support both to the organization and to the individual to make that relationship work. That's a matter of choice. If an individual wants to join as a BLG member, they do get access to those support structures, mentoring, coaching, networking, CPD that enables them to advance their careers and plan for a longer term in that organization or in that sector. And similarly, organizations get to work with us to build that structure of support to ensure longer term success rather than one-off individual success or failures. In terms of the ethnic equity in education campaign, which we recently launched, I touched on it briefly, but basically, if you look at all three phases of education, schools, further education colleges, and higher education, none of them reflect those figures that I mentioned in terms of the national population. But it's a little known fact that 30% of school children in England are from Black and minority ethnic communities. 30%, that's quite a big percentage relative to that 20% that I talked about earlier. A similar figure in further education, and again, a similar figure in higher education. And yet at no stage does the workforce in either of those phases come close to reflecting that representation in its student numbers. So the ethnic equity and education campaign is to make a radical change in that representation. Because it's our belief that we can't make it work in education, we won't make it work in wider society. And we will then have this issue of young people with all their hopes and ambitions unfulfilled. And that's not a great reservoir of discontent for an organization, let alone for society as a whole. So we need to change this this ratio, if you like, and we believe that if you start with education, it will automatically work its way through to employment.
Yeah. Thank you, Robin. That makes complete sense. So I want to go on now to just talk through the charging structure of the new job board come January. Please don't worry, we will be sending around information after this event, plus a recording of the event. So if you don't have all of this detail, you will receive it. But just, we're going to have a couple of tiers. We've got our affiliate tier, and as you can see, 3 tiers within that, depending on what an affiliate member of the Black Leadership Group would like potentially to spend in terms of the number of adverts they may post on the job board over the course of a 12-month period. So that is all either a single advert or buying a bundle over either for a number of ads or over a 12-month period, unlimited use. And then we've got a non-affiliate employer organization rate, which is coming up now. And again, it works in the same way. So that's any entity, so any organization out there who wants to advertise across the UK. Again, they will have 3 options in terms of the charging. So a single advert, and then, you know, bundles or unlimited over the course of a 12-month period. So that is how the charging is going to work. Like I say, we will be sending this around and backing that up. You know, not only this will obviously pay for a lot of the investment we're making in terms of the technical upgrade and the higher spec of the job board itself, but also we're going to be putting a lot of time and effort into that marketing campaign and driving the SEO promotion. The build time, we're currently at that stage. So we're currently in build right now. So building out the job board with a launch date in early January. It'll probably be ready before that, but really January traditionally, as we all know, tends to be a fairly busy time in the UK job market, and people start both looking for work, but employers are often looking again to, you know, at their plans for the new year, the new calendar year, and indeed the new financial year come April. So, but just to point out, it will remain free up until and including the end of December. So you still have a lot of time to avail of the job board on a free use basis. Clearly, it'll be the job board as it exists, not the new platform. But please, I would encourage anyone who hasn't tried it to give it a go. And if you have any queries around that, there's information on the job board. We will send links to the current job board around with the information after this. So, Robin, I wanted to just, that's kind of the end of our presentation, really. Like I say, we will send around all the information after this. But just as I touched on it, and I think you mentioned it a couple of times, so I just wanted to make sure, I suppose, anyone who isn't aware of the Black Leadership Job Board and also the Black Leadership Group. In terms of affiliate organisations, can you just briefly talk us through what kind of support and services we as affiliates get, you know, from from being an affiliate of the Black Leadership Group, please?
Okay, well, the purpose of the affiliation process is to build an anti-racist culture in your organization. And so our support structure is based partly on the 10-point plan diagnostic toolkit. So we have versions which are appropriate for use in various sectors. We have an education version for schools, for colleges, and for HE. We have a private sector version. We have now a school, and we have one for charitable organizations. So the purpose of those is to a bespoke structure for each organization to work within, which is most appropriate for its needs. But a diagnostic toolkit is not an end in itself. So one of the key elements of support is a bespoke training process. So it's an onboarding process for organizations, and that's based on a pre-training questionnaire, so that it's clearly bespoke for your organization. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Then there is a follow-up training for train the trainers. So you have identified change makers in the organization who will then drive the changes through. The changes are based on your induction CPD day. CPD day will identify the change makers, and finally the whole package is supported by a community of practice. So every organization is represented by a senior person in that community of practice, where they can meet other affiliated organizations, exchange good practice, what works well, what needs improvement, and they can exchange their experience of what's been good about being an affiliate member. Now, beyond that, there are other opt-ins for organizations. So a number of organizations have asked us to do research processes for them to understand what their Black staff think and what their experience of being Black in that organization is. For example, colleges and schools, it's what the learner experience has been. And then there are other more bespoke programs which we can do that. But basically, the 10-point plan diagnostic toolkit is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. It's a means for organizations to monitor their progress over time. And what we always stress is that organizations will all have different starting points. They will all have different cultures, and they will all have a different speed of working. But every organization has to sign up with the clear and unequivocal support of their CEO and of their board. And, that's not negotiable.
Yeah, you have to have that engagement from the top down.
Exactly.
In order, it's so crucial. Yeah, and I can attest to that. So Robin, I just thank you for that. I just thought it would be helpful because there may well be people listening today who want to hear more about joining BLG as an affiliate. So like I say, we'll send some information around after the event. But just to pick up on some questions, and I'll kick off, and then I'll answer first, and then probably get your perspective if that's okay. So question around, how does the Black Leadership Job Board support Black professionals in their career advancement? Well, I would say for a couple of ways, really. First of all, it's that we would encourage and signpost them to the Black Leadership Group, because I think you've already mentioned some of the support that you provide in terms of mentorship to the Black members of the BLG. So we would very much be encouraging and supporting them and encouraging them to look there as a point of reference. But as we now create this new entity and the new platform, the plan will be to give career advice to job seekers in terms of, all aspects of that, focusing, I suppose, mostly on the recruitment process to get them through, but equally expanding from there, how you work, how you can progress, how you deal with performance reviews, how to ask for promote, whatever type of support that we know is necessary. But we will again lean into our relationship with the Black Leadership Group and probably other entities to get something that's tailor that for Black candidates in particular, in terms of, you know, we've seen the disparities and we've seen the challenges. So, you know, it's just making sure that we are tailoring that as much as possible. So that would be the plan. Have you anything to add to that, Robin, in terms of the support for Black professionals in their career advancement?
Yeah, I mean, I want to make it clear that the Black Leadership Group has a two-tier membership process. So they're affiliated for organizations, and then there's a membership option for Black professionals. And that's really focusing on encouraging Black professionals to invest in their careers, to plan their careers as best they can with our support, and to take all the opportunities that the Black Leadership Group can offer in terms of mentoring. Now, mentoring is just a means to an end. It's just enabling people to learn from the experience of others who've, you know, trodden the path before them, to understand what strategies they have to adopt in order to succeed in organizations. And that will differ individual to individual, and from sector to sector, and from organization to organization. So it's important that we as Black people take responsibility for our own career progress. So we have mentoring, coaching, we have CPD programs, which cover the whole range of options. And then there's networking, because as we know, networking is really key. And we encourage our members to take up options like, for example, serving on boards, serving either as a governor in a school or a college, or in a more advanced position in terms of board representation in private sector organizations, government organizations, and so on. So those are the things that give you an insight into the full range of the experience and talent you need to succeed in whatever sector you choose.
Thank you, Robin. That makes sense. So another question, what types of opportunities can be found on the Black Leadership Job Board? So at the beginning, we had a discussion, and we decided that actually the right thing to do would be to make sure that we have opportunities at all levels on the job board, because really the drive is to create that Black talent pipeline coming through. So we even though it's called the Black Leadership Job Board, we encourage employers to post any roles they feel are important to post on there. So that you'll notice if you go onto the job board, you'll see entry-level roles, you'll see relatively junior management roles, all the way up to governorships and board level vacancies on there. And you'll also see a massive range of types of organizations on there, in terms of, you know, we've got private sector, public sector, lots of colleges, given where the Black Leadership Group came from. I think that was to be expected, but it's expanding all the time, which is great to see. We've got law firms, we've got accountancy firms, you name it. We're starting to see more and more different types of entities on there. Yeah, so like I say, every type of organization, you know, and we'll continue to do that. I don't know whether you've got anything to add to that, Robin.
No, it is. You're right. This our name belies our organization's intention. We're not really interested in only in leadership roles. It's about leadership at all levels, because this is about, you know, turning. The Black Leadership Group wants to turn Black representation in the workforce into a real positive, rather than to be seen as a token gesture. So that's key. So I think you're right to stress that it's not about a particular type of job. It's all types of job and in all sectors. Great.
Thanks, Robin. I've got another question. I'm happy to take this, Robin, if you want to add, you can. But in terms of the ratios of ads to applications, and somebody's saying they'd want to see that ratio improve, you know, to be paying for a job board. Now, when I gave those figures, what I didn't say, which I should have said, and we can share this afterwards is that the applications, there was a lag in terms of adverts going up and applications coming through. As you'll be aware, we started from a standing cold start. So we did as much promotion as possible, but the Black Leadership Group is a voluntary organization, and we've got a limited amount of resources up until now that we were able to invest in this, because we've now made the decision to invest and go to the paid for model that will also allow us to invest in that marketing strategy. So those ratios are actually a lot better than they sound, because they're stacked at the back end in terms of the time frame that the jobs have gone up, and as more jobs and more employers have appeared on the job board, the applications have come through. So I'm happy to share those, and we do have some targets in terms of what we're gunning for. So again, I will share those as well. But in terms of the charge structure, we've intentionally made it that people can start to kind of dip their toe in the water on charging, rather than having to kind of commit fully straight away. But like I say, this investment and the revenue will allow us to do a lot of the promotion. In terms of promoting within the Black community, we do have some plans there. We will work with the Black Leadership Group on that as well, as our partner and as one of our key kind of partners within the community. But I don't know whether you've got anything else to add on that, Robin, or is that okay with you?
I think we've covered everything there.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And then another question for the BLG: do you have any higher education institutions, Robin?
In affiliation, no, but we have a number of HEIs that are in discussion with us. I want to flag up the fact that one of our members, Professor David Mba, has just been appointed as Vice Chancellor at Birmingham City University. Now, David developed something called the Ethnic Representation Index, which we think is a piece of groundbreaking research, which tracks the correlation between underrepresentation of staffing and student outcomes in all universities in England and Scotland. It's really interesting work. You can Google it and find it. But we are working with our higher education members in finalizing the higher education anti-racist toolkit, and that's going to be the subject of discussions between some HEIs in Wales, and we're also talking to others about how the higher education anti-racist toolkit can work in conjunction with the race equality charter. And we think they're complementary. In many respects, there are limitations for the race equality charter, which is more of a sort of data-driven process, and ours is about culture change. So we think the two can marry quite well. But we're happy to talk, but we understand that change takes longer in HEIs than it does in other branches of education.
Yeah, and I'd also add that we have multiple higher education institutions advertising on the Black Leadership Job Board, so they're starting to get engaged in that. So this will have a knock-on effect, as it has been having for you guys, because I know you're constantly reaching out to different sectors and engaging with them. So that's great. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. I don't think there are any more questions that we haven't probably covered already. So rather than repeating, I want to keep it snappy, and I know everyone's busy. But thank you to everyone who joined our session today. Like I've already said, we will send around a recording of the webinar, and you'll also get contact details from Robin, the Black Leadership Group, and myself and Morgan Hunt. So if you have anything you need to reach out and ask, please do that. I just want to point out again, remember that the job board will remain free to use up until the end of December 2023. So if you haven't posted vacancies on there yet, I would encourage you to do so. And finally, as ever, a massive thank you to you, Robin, for your time today. Always fantastic to have your perspective. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.